Hi everyone, Kim here at Olive City Oasis, and today is my very first herbal tea talk. And I am happy to bring you one of my favorite herbal teas, and that is chocolate mint. Now, a lot of the herbal teas that I will be sharing with you are actually blends of several different herbs, but chocolate mint tea doesn't need a blend at all. It stands on its own quite well. Very refreshing having this iced on a hot summer day. And today we are scheduled to hit 112 degrees Fahrenheit. We're only at about 107 right now at about 1 p.m., but by 4 or 5 we'll be up there. Now there is nothing quite as easy as a straight herbal tea, because all you have to do is pick the fresh leaves, steep them in some boiling water, and if you're having it iced, let it cool to room temperature and put it in the fridge for a few hours. So I came out this morning with one purpose in mind, well, after I did all the watering, and that is to cut some fresh chocolate mint because I want to make some iced tea. And I want to be able to drink it this afternoon, so I need to get it done this morning so I can get it in the fridge. Oh, this stuff smells so good, just like chocolate, really. Just amazing when you walk by. I have this growing in several places, kind of as an experiment to see where it does best. And I think really this is the place where it's done best. It gets full morning sun, and then at about 2:30, it goes into shade for the rest of the day. And for my zone, in my hot summers, well, that's a good place for it to be apparently because it's thriving. It does need, as all mint does, a lot of water. And it doesn't like its leaves getting wet, as most plants don't here in, again, my hot summer. But harvesting fresh mint for tea is really super easy. You just take your scissors and you cut. Now I'm gonna cut off maybe 6 stems like this, and the leaves from those 5 or 6 stems are going to be enough to make a full pitcher of chocolate mint iced tea. Now you can make chocolate mint tea with fresh leaves like I'm going to do this morning, or with dried leaves. Now I will be harvesting all of this very soon and storing them to use when maybe the mint isn't growing as well, although here it usually grows throughout the year. But having dried mint on hand gives you options. But I will say you have to use less leaves to get the same taste when you use fresh leaves. So now I'm just going to head inside, rinse these off, and then cut off the leaves or break them off right at the point where they're coming out of the stem and get them steeping. So I made this tea early this morning. I came out and cut some fresh chocolate mint, steeped it for about 15 minutes, let it get to room temp, put it in the fridge, and went about my day. And now I can enjoy it in the hot afternoon sun. Now, what are some of the benefits of chocolate mint tea? Well, like all mints, chocolate mint is full of vitamins and full of minerals and full of some amazing health properties. So we've got vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E. You've got phosphorus, manganese, calcium, and potassium. Lots of energy coming your way. And the health properties that I've personally noticed really do work with mint, especially chocolate mint, because, well, I like chocolate mint the best, so I drink the most of it, are that it provides some anti-nausea. It settles your stomach. And as someone who suffers with IBS, I find this a very soothing tea. It really does fight stomach issues, as well as it's very calming. Really reduces stress. And I'm not sure what property of it does that, but I know I'm not alone in thinking that. A lot of people agree that it definitely is stress reducing. But one of the things it's more commonly known for is that its high level of antioxidants, specifically the rosmarinic or something like that, I'm not sure the pronunciation, acid in it is very anti-inflammatory. So this is why it's said to be very good for some allergies and for things like arthritis, because it combats inflammation. Now, of course, I'm not a doctor. I'm not even an official herbalist, but I have been researching and using herbs for many years. And from what I've read from many others who've been using herbs this way for many years more than me, these benefits hold true for a lot of people. Still, they're not going to hold true for everyone, so you should experiment with them. And do know that a very few people will have a reaction to, well, anything that they ingest. So of course, be on the lookout for anything like that the first time you try it. The main thing that I think you're gonna note with chocolate mint tea though is the delicious taste. And yes, you can drink it all alone. Now, some people like their tea really sweet, so of course you can add sweetener, whether that be sugar, brown sugar, honey, agave syrup, or stevia. That's another herb we'll go over one day soon, but stevia, an herbal plant you can grow quite easily, also can add a very natural sweetener to your drinks. But for me, mint, especially chocolate mint, already has its own sweetness and its own distinct taste. So I love it all on its own. Now, there is some controversy as to whether it really tastes like chocolate, because there's not really any particular property in the plant itself that, well, gives a reason for that taste. But a lot of people think it really does taste like chocolate, and I'm one of them. Even those who don't agree that it tastes like chocolate think it really smells like chocolate. And, well, smell is so closely related to taste, that might be a big part of it. I'm interested to see what you think, so definitely give chocolate mint tea a try. It's really good hot too in the winter months. But now for our tea talk. What are we going to talk about today? Well, the theme is my battle with the squirrels. How has it been going? Have I been winning or losing? And what am I going to do about it going forward for the rest of the summer? So the wire cages work great to keep birds off of your newly sprouting seedlings. However, if the squirrels want something, the squirrels will just come and take the baskets off and then devour all the leaves. These were really big kabocha squash, and they've all been eaten to the ground. Notice that the squirrels left the long Chinese red noodle beans alone, which, you know, I'm super grateful for, but yeah, this means not war. We've already had the war, and they won the war. This is the 4th time I've replanted these kabocha squash, and I've planted zucchini and melons 4 times too, and the only thing that have survived are the Moon and Stars watermelon, which I, again, am super grateful for. But no, the war's over with the squirrels and the squash. So I'm moving on from that. I've got something better in mind. I'm going to use my brains, which I feel like I still have more of than the squirrels. And I'm coming up with something different, totally different, that hopefully will work. And here I'm just going to, I think, plant bush beans, because I think the squirrels will leave the bush beans alone. See how lovely the Moon and Stars watermelon look? They're growing up, pushing against the tool here, so I feel like if I took the tool away, they'd sprawl out another 3 or 4 feet going this way. And the only problem with that is my nice wood chip pathway and border from this bed ends right here. So today I think I'm going to expand this bed all the way out here, and then I can take the tool off and let the Moon and Stars watermelon go wild, because apparently the squirrels don't care for it so much. So yes, I am definitely changing my plans when it comes to these squirrels, because I do want to come away from this summer with 2 things in regards to this whole squirrel and squash battle. And that is, I want to come away with some squash one way or another. And the other thing is, I want to experience less stress and more peace in my garden the rest of the summer. So I don't want to keep coming out in the morning to water and finding what the night before was a beautiful, full, lush plant devoured to the ground. So how am I changing my plans? Well, in several ways. First of all, I'm going to start planting squash and melon in containers rather than in the ground. That will enable me to change where they're located whenever I need to. Now, to begin with, I'm going to position them on my back patio, where they'll get plenty of sun, although they'll also get some shade throughout the day off and on, which probably is going to benefit them in this, intense dry heat we will have throughout the rest of the month and through August. But the main benefit that the squash and melon will get from being positioned in containers on and near my back patio is that they're going to be away from where all of the squirrel activity has been happening, which is near my southern olive orchard. Being right next to the house also means they're next to windows and sliding glass doors where we'll be able to see if any ambitious, enterprising young squirrel decides to make his way onto the back patio and investigate. That's never happened yet, and I'm hoping it never does, but if so, we should be ready to take care of it. Now, there are a couple of ways I'm hoping to take care of squirrel activity messing around with my squash and melon going forward. The basket certainly didn't do it. That was for the birds. The tool usually works really well. Up until this summer, it has worked probably 90% of the time, but there's just so much more squirrel pressure this summer than I've ever faced before that the tool's just almost worthless when it comes to the squash now, sadly. So it's not tool. It's not baskets. What is it that I'm going to use to help me out in my battle besides the location? Well, two things. One is a motion sensor that, when it senses movement like a squirrel, is going to set off a high-pitched sound alarm that should scare them away. Now, I've talked with several people that use these, and they say it works really well for both birds and squirrels. So I'm hoping I'm going to have success with them too. I'm going to put a couple of them around my patio, and I'm also going to put a couple around a test area out in the garden where I'm going to leave a few test plants and see what happens there. So this is it. It's a solar animal repeller, and I didn't mention, but in addition to the ultrasonic sounds that it flashes at the animal once it senses movement, it also has a flashing strobe light that it flashes at the animal. So this might be why my friends have told me it works. I'm so hoping it works for me too. But if it doesn't, I have another weapon on hand. So, what might that weapon be? Well, I'll show you. This, my friends, is Oliver. Oliver the owl. I think he looks pretty scary. At least he looks scary to birds and squirrels, we're hoping. So Oliver and his friend are going to help me. Oliver's going to sit near the back patio on the edge to scare away any predators to my squash and melons. And his friend is going to sit out by the test area in the garden where I'm going to have some squash and melon planted and replanted as many times as I need to. And I'm hoping he can do the job. I've had some friends who've used some owl decoys, and they've had mixed stories. Some say it's worked great, some say mediocre results. So we're gonna see what happens here. Maybe squirrels react differently depending on personality or something. We'll see. Now, these squirrels come with this plug at the bottom so you can fill them with sand, so then they're heavy and they won't tip over. I know one thing I could do, because I saw it today when I was driving home from an errand. A house near here has quite a few grapevines growing vineyard style, and right in the middle of their little vineyard, raised on a high post, they've got an owl decoy. And so they've used the hole to put the long post up through it and then somehow stabilized it with some sort of rope or tape. And so he's a lookout high above to keep birds away from those grapes. So that's a possibility. I might try it on a tea stake out in the garden test area, and then maybe on a stump or cement blocks on my patio. So what do you say, Oliver? You gonna do the job? I'm hoping. Now, one of the other obvious things I'm going to be doing is replanting most of the areas that I had before allocated to the squash and the melons to other kinds of plants. And from what I've seen so far this summer, the squirrels are pretty much leaving beans alone, although the birds do like the leaves. So I'm going to keep them covered with baskets and tulle to keep the birds off till they're a good size and they're climbing the trellises, or with bush beans until they're, really good size. And we'll see how that goes. But cherry tomatoes and pepper plants seem to be totally unfazed by the squirrels, so I think that is the way I'm going to go for those beds. Oh, and more flowers. I'd like to plant some more calendula and some more zinnias and some more sunflowers too. So tell me, have you been battling squirrels or gophers or birds or I don't know what other stray creatures might have wandered onto your property, messed with your plants in your backyard, but I'm curious. Let me know in the comments, and also tell me what you've done to combat them. Now, let me make it clear. I love sharing with my family and friends, but also with wildlife. I don't mind them taking a percentage of my crops. That is not just fine, but something that I enjoyed. But when they start taking everything, that's where I have to draw the line. All right, well, it's back to work. I have a job to do once it cools off a bit, maybe around 5. I am going to bring some wood chips and cardboard up and extend the border and walkway over by the watermelon bed so that I can release those Moon and Stars watermelon from the tool and let them sprawl out. I think they'll appreciate it. And I think I might keep the test area for my 1 or 2 squash and melon plants right near there. That way my solar sound and light repeller and my owl decoy can be nearby. Just in case the squirrels change their taste and decide that the Moon and Stars watermelon looks appetizing, I don't want them going anywhere near those plants. So here's hoping that though I lost the initial war, I will come out victorious in this struggle for squash and melon, but mostly squash. Well, at least I know I've won this battle, the battle for a refreshing drink, because this chocolate mint iced tea really, really does the trick. So thanks for joining me on my first herbal tea talk. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're not struggling with the heat and the squirrels as much as I am, but if you are, there is hope. Make some herbal iced tea, grab yourself an olive oil, I can't say it. Grab yourself an Oliver Owl decoy and give it another try, and let me know how you do. Have a great day, everyone, and I will see you soon.